What has caught your eye this week politically?
Many things.
Yes.
The first one really is the Donald being the Donald.
Mm-hmm.
And, just the way he sucks all of the air out of a room for all the other candidates by just saying something totally outrageous and ridiculous, like, let's ban all Muslims from coming into the country or whatever. Uh, and then he'll be on every show and everybody's talking about him and what he's doing. And interestingly enough, this Howard Kurtz character, who's a media, not analyst, but he has a show called Media Buzz or on Fox. He was saying that basically this is what Trump has figured out, that he can keep controlling everything, turning all the knobs if he just keeps making these outrageous statements.
So you think it's really more a free pub thing than something that he really means? And truthfully, a lot of people agree with him on this.
Yeah, well, I think there's a backlash, of course, because of San Bernardino, no question about that. Those people were already here, but it doesn't mean we should just en masse bring them in. I think we said a long time ago on our Political Pals, maybe weeks and weeks ago, that the real problem with this system is that if you're a Syrian refugee, there is no database to go through to see if you're a mass murderer in Syria, because those databases don't exist. So he was just, expanding his rhetoric by saying, look, this is how tough and presidential I'm going to be, when it wasn't in fact presidential. It was anything but. But his
So he's essentially getting tons of free pub to play to his base.
Yeah, and his base loves it. They don't care. They're like, yeah, that's a good idea.
And the mainstream media loves it because more people tune in. They sell more time, and like they're not. And his message brings eyeballs,
Yeah.
and even brings eyeballs in the controversy. Where somebody like Bernie Sanders gets no love from the mainstream media because he's actually talking about real issues that nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, Bernie's coverage comes on Jimmy Fallon, for God's sakes.
Right. And so I guess the whole Trump thing is everybody wins. The mainstream media gets more eyeballs. They can get more like, advertising dollars.
The Donald did it for us again.
Right.
Now, oh, by the way, we're going to run right out to Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio and say, you better start buying time to tell your message, because we're going to be talking about this.
Well, and the other thing is, to that base, to that particular base, it makes exclamation point and cute little Mark Rubio look like pussies.
Wait a second. They do, of course. But here's the thing we didn't notice.
Right.
They have dropped the exclamation point. It's now just Jeb.
They dropped the exclamation point?
Yeah.
I didn't, well.
You see? They are making major political moves here.
Well, that's a mistake, because that exclamation point gives him power and excitement. I mean, he's Jeb. Not Jeb.
Yeah, now he's Jeb. Just Jeb.
Yeah, well, I mean, next Jeb is like a whole nother, that's another conversation.
That's another conversation. But yeah, so Donald
we'll wrap up with Trump, and then we'll move on to Jeb.
Yeah. So the Donald is out there. I mean, he's blaming Bill Gates for the internet stuff when Bill Gates doesn't have anything really to do with the internet.
I'll tell you something straight up. I believe if it was Trump and Clinton, Trump would win.
Probably.
He would win an election against Clinton. And even progressive pundits believe that as well.
Well, I think the thing is, voters don't want an insider.
No, they don't want an insider. Clinton doesn't inspire any kind of passion from anybody. And this is yet another conversation, another theme we can do about people wanting to. Well, actually, this does tie in with Trump. There's another theory that let's just let everything go to hell and get a real progressive. Seriously, because they're assuming that Hillary Clinton can just have their votes and have the respect and earn their votes by doing nothing except saying, well, I won't put a conservative Supreme Court justice on there. And essentially the thing is, well, if there's a crazy conservative that's just wrecking the whole country, it will create like a progressive Tea Party where people, because the Tea Party takes action about stuff. They organize and they're a force, even though they're a minority. And
I mean, even though the IRS doesn't want them to be a force,
right?
Apparently,
right. And if there's a crazy Republican that just does what they would do, it would force the progressive base to actually get proactive for change, because Hillary is basically a Republican candidate. Right. So there is that thing going on now. Well, you know what? Let's just, if it's Hillary and Trump, let's just, or any Republican, let's just give it to them, and maybe we can have some real change down the road. That is a school of thought now.
Yeah, I think.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that could be right, in that if Hillary gets elected, my prediction would be this: she will only be elected for one term, and the entire party would get run over by the population saying, well, I can't believe we did this, and nothing has happened. And so they would blame the entire Democratic Party, saying we did it to ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, when you really think about it, a Clinton nomination is a death blow for the Democratic Party. I mean, but the establishment doesn't see it that way, because really the establishment and the Republicans, in what matters to them fiscally, they're all the same person. Yeah. They're all in the same room.
Well, they have to have two of them, otherwise they can't, for example, have any fun. Number one, they can't charge people for, fighting against the other side, which is what each one wants to do.
Right.
Yeah, if they were all actually Americans, that would be a big problem.
So if Trump faced off against Hillary, he would represent the anti-establishment thing that everybody, even if they think he's crazy and don't agree with everything he says, like you said, it's the economy, stupid, and there's a bigger inward thing of people going, you're going to get the, hey, he's not answering to anybody, or the B, let's just burn this house down, man, and start over again, because Hillary Clinton, she's not nearly as progressive as Obama, and Obama didn't, he got, what do they call it, the third wave Democrats. He got caught up in that whole web of croniness. And so, even though I don't think in his heart he is a crony, but it's sort of what happened.
It was just so easy to roll over.
Right, but Hillary is a crony. She is part of that whole crony.
She's inside as you can get.
Yeah, it's like, fighting for you for, like, what has she accomplished? I don't know what she's really done. Anything that she's done except be in the system and foster cronyism. So a lot of people are going to be complacent, and they're going to go, God, this choice, I think I'd rather take a chance with Trump. Even though everything he's saying, people are disagreeing crazy, but it's bigger than that. It's the establishment versus the non-establishment, or the let's just burn the house down. Let's just burn it down. If you're gonna coronate us and give us this choice of a flip-flopper, a crony flip-flopper, let's burn it down. Let's just burn this house down. And but the corporate media loves all of it, because it's more advertising for them. It's more stuff to talk about. It's more people in, and it's paying attention to things, the wacky things in politics, and not the things that really matter in people's everyday lives. Because all this crazy Muslim talk does not really affect people on a day-to-day basis like the problems with the economy. But it gets people fired up, and it sells commercial time. What do you think?
Yeah, it's just, exactly, you make some outrageous statement, they're like, oh boy, here we go again. Thanks, Donald. You just give us the money. Give us the money now, because everybody's going to tune in to see if we could get them on the show, That would be unbelievable. But it will at least get them to phone in. And more importantly, we'll get other people to talk about it. And it's just laughable. I mean, the Donald he just fires for effect all the time. And then he says, oh, I'll just stick with what I said.
Well, the other thing about Donald that I think makes him appeal to people is even though he's not, even though his dad, loaned me $1 million, 30 years ago. What's that? Even though he doesn't live in the, thrice married, he's probably, banged as many hot chicks as Putin has, in his tenure.
I don't know about that, but
well, probably not. But lives on yachts, lives in luxury.
Probably as many as Bill Clinton.
Or. but not even in touch close to not even remotely like the common man. But he talks like a common man. He talks like just some straight talking dude from New Jersey, and he doesn't sound like somebody reading off a teleprompter. Or, here, Mr. Trump, here is what you're going to say written by your team. Everything out of Clinton's mouth comes from a team. Or Bill. It's like, here, this is what you need to say. Here's your talking points. Or stolen from another candidate's, thing.
Bernie had a good idea, so I'll take that one, too.
Yeah, I'll take that one. Or I'll take, I'm not running to make history. I'm running to make a difference, which was stolen from some. So nothing of it is really sincere, and Trump just talks. I don't think somebody's going, here, Mr. Trump, here's what you must, here's your wisecracking lines, here's your bits. Rubio totally comes off like that, and Clinton comes off like that. I don't think Bernie has a speechwriter. Because he's been saying the same speech for 30 years, so he sort of has his shtick down, but even though Trump is totally shtick, it doesn't come off quite as pre-planned shtick. It's like it's Trump's shtick. It's not his speechwriter's shtick.
Yeah.
So
great is that? These kinds of things. He says, how great is that? He sent out a thing. I get these things from all the candidates because I want to see what they're saying. So he sent out a blitz yesterday about, look at how far ahead I am. How great is that? So,
and people are passionate about Trump. People who are into Trump are into Trump. Like other candidates, they're not. Nobody's like go ! Nobody's like go Rubio. People are a little passionate about Ted Cruz, but Ted Cruz is playing the same game, and he's also very diabolical. And
he's mastering the game quickly.
But the irony is diabolical as Clinton is, and Clinton is diabolical, extremely diabolical. The only people excited for her are Claire McCaskill types, are her shrew, with the exception of Elizabeth Warren, that shrew of female senators and insiders. Katy Perry, Kim Kardashian, Ellen, they all love Hillary Clinton. But like the people are just, the people's response is, God, well, I guess if I have to. There's no like, yeah, let's do this. And Trump has that. People are down with Trump. And maybe it tops out at 30%. I don't know. But as I said, just from talking to people who want to stay off the record, they like Trump off the record. So I think there's a whole big off the record of people that when they're in that little voting booth alone and they're thinking, super establishment, crony, lying, flip-flopping,
unaccomplished,
or, they're...
At least the guy that wants America to be great again.
He wants America to be great again. And because the Trump brand has existed for so long, people it's just Trump. They just ignore... He can be as crazy as he wants to be. And it's like, yeah, I like this because it almost seems like political correctness has gotten such a fine line. Imagine things that they used to do in the movies. Now, granted, I'm still for affirmative action, and I realize that, my God, there was a race that was enslaved and basically exterminated by the quote unquote, American government not that long ago. But political correctness, I think has really, for a lot of people, they just make them feel like they're in a cage now. And like, look at old movies from the 30s. You can't even do anything or represent people or talk the way they do, or you can't even like smoke on television anymore, or you can't, God forbid you say anything about Caitlyn Jenner and people will be all over you, for being intolerant. And so, and I mean, I'm all for that progressively speaking, but for a lot of people, they feel constrained by that. And most politicians, they're in this bubble that they can't feel they can say anything like that without upsetting the base. But Trump just lets it fly. And so it's almost like popping a balloon with people. It's like, oh, somebody is saying that. And
Well, it's like in San Bernardino where the neighbor didn't want to say anything about the people because they were Muslims and they thought they would be attacked for racially profiling, even though they were getting dozens and dozens of boxes. And, that whole San Bernardino thing is so absurd. I mean, so they just happened to call a news conference 30 minutes after it was announced who the people were, and they already had everybody assembled, including his brother-in-law. I mean, this is ridiculous. But we're so politically correct that we couldn't call him out on that. We couldn't call Kerr out on that.
yes, yeah. So Trump is embodying that to the nth degree because he can, and nobody can infringe. All the other politicians, and Cruz is trying to do the best he can to get some of that. And I think Cruz, the diabolical man that he is trying to position himself to get all the Trump people when Trump implodes at some point, because he's being very careful. Not unlike exclamation point, who's just looking like a big, can I say it, pussy, trying to call out Trump. I mean, but like Cruz is being very diabolical about it and is trying to position himself to get all that, and is sort of like being Trump light a little bit, but he's still in the machine a little bit. So they're just things you can't say. So Trump sucks in all that, yeah, USA, USA. He trumps in, he sucks in all that. Somebody's saying it. Somebody's saying what I really think. And whether that's even, I mean, I don't think that's the majority of Americans, but it's a chunk of Americans who are passionate about stuff are going to go out and vote for the guy because of it, and it's people that are going to get fired up. And so Trump is really the only person on that side that fires people up. Just like on the Democrat side, Sanders fires people up. People are fired up for Sanders. They're excited. But the difference is the media doesn't cover Sanders, and they cover Trump all day long because Trump is so sensational. You can get all these pundits to come out and talk against him because it's almost as much about having people talking against him as for him and watching. And the mainstream media just doesn't want Sanders' issues even brought up. They don't even want people thinking about that crap.
If you're a network or cable news director and you can't get Donald Trump on or get people to talk about it, your advertisers are fleeing like scalded dogs. They're out of there. So you have to play to that. You either hate him, but he's essentially taking everything. Where with Bernie it would just be uncomfortable. Like, well, let's not really talk about that.
Right. Well, and the thing is, Bernie is talking a lot about the truth. Like he's exposing the truth, and nobody wants that. People that the powers that be do not want exposed. They don't want people thinking about that stuff. They'd rather have people thinking about the sensational things that Donald Trump is bringing up.
Well, it's entertainment.
It really doesn't. Wouldn't you say Donald Trump might be the most powerful man in America right now?
Oh, right now he probably is. Obviously, Obama is the president, so he's literally the most powerful man in the world. But he's not doing anything with it. He left the building, as we said weeks ago. He just put his toe a little bit back in because we figured out we could crush ISIS tomorrow if we wanted to. The rules of engagement, aerial engagement, are totally ridiculous there now.
All right, so let's wrap up with Trump and then move to another subject. What's final thoughts on Trump?
The Donald is being the Donald, and at least he changed to a blue tie. I was very happy to hear that. So from the red one. I'm also personally upset that we don't see Mrs. Trump very often because she's quite an attractive lady. But he's just going to, roll over these other people, with maybe the exception of, I just think that Cruz maybe is diabolical enough to, figure out how to rein everybody else in.